Today, it's my privilege to introduce a guy. He's following his dream. He's doing what he loves to do. And he come from West Monroe, went to school at ULM or Northeast, and now he got his master's at Ole Miss. And his name is Hamilton Winters. I'll turn it over to him.
Good morning. How's everybody? Do I have to use this?
You don't have to.
I don't have to. Can you hear me if I don't use that? Yeah. I'd really not use it if that's cool. First off, thank you, Mr. Kelly. Thank you, Ms. Morrison. Thank you, everybody. Just for a show of hands, raise your hand. I want you to be honest with me. Who could care less what I have to say today? Just raise your hand. You're not going to hurt my feelings.
Raise them.
Just raise it. Just raise it. It's Tuesday. It's after spring break. Who cares? Okay, thank you. Keep going. Raise your hand. I don't care less. Hey, look. Let's go. You're not going to get in trouble. I promise. I got you. I like to know who I'm talking to, right? Because if I can get him or him to leave here learning something or having been interested in something that he wasn't interested in before, then by association, I've pretty much gotten the whole crowd, right? Everybody else is already interested. So don't feel bad that you're not. I don't know that I'd be interested in my story either. But because I don't know you, and because you don't know me yet, I want to thank you for giving me something that I could never really ask for, and that's for your time. You can't give me anything more valuable than your time, because it's the only thing that you can spend and never get back. Think about that. If you spend money, you can make more money, right? A show of hands, because we're playing this game. If I gave you $1 million today, would you take $1 million? Who would take $1 million if I gave you? I can't give you $1 million. I'm just going to go out right and say it now. But if I gave you an hour of my time, who wants an hour of my time? Be honest. Okay. If it's free, right? If it's free, you'll take it. But it's not as exciting, right? As $1 million. Why is time not as exciting as money? I think it's two things. One, it's black and white, right? If I want a Tahoe, I know I need $50,000 at least. I can do the calculations on how many Tahoes I can buy with $1 million. Anybody want a Tahoe? I drive a 400. And the second thing is, it's scarce, right? Time is scarce, and you learn in economics that any commodity that's scarce is inherently valuable. Gas, right? Oil, diamonds, gold. Why do you wear jewelry? Because it's scarce. Not everybody's wearing it, right? I can't put a calculation on an hour of your time, but something that you tell me over an hour of time could be inherently more valuable than $1 million. Do you agree with that? So thank you for giving me your time. And if you could care less about what I have to say today, that's okay. But I ask that you don't distract the person next to you who might care. Does that make sense? Is that cool? We're going to have fun today. I'm not going to take too much of your time. It is valuable, right? We've already. This horse is going to cut me off. All right. Reel it back in. Three things. I can tell you a million pieces of advice, but I'm going to give you 3 things today because I think that you can take 3 things and actually apply them. Right? And I think they called me here today because I have a classical background in business, but more than that, I've made an effort to save or make up as much time in my life as I could. Because, like we already identified, time is valuable, right? So I'm 24. I was in your position, some of you seniors, 6 years ago. It hasn't been that long, right? Time moves very quickly. But if there are 3 pieces of advice that I think would save you more time than anything else, the first one is define success. And that sounds very cliche, boring. What does that mean? Define success, okay? I live in Buckhead, which is a neighborhood in Atlanta that is one of the wealthiest zip codes in the entire United States. Every single day, I get passed by Porsches and Ferraris and McLarens. I can walk from my apartment to the Dior store to the Gucci store, Tom Ford, Prada. I don't, but I can, right? I work and I have a business at the 7th busiest corporate airport in the United States. Outside of my office at any given point in time, there are billions of dollars worth of private jets parked outside. And let me tell you, it's easy to look at those things and for those to be the shining trophies of success, right? Who wouldn't want a private jet? Who wouldn't want a Ferrari? Who wouldn't want one of the mansions down the road from my apartment? Everybody would, right? Until you meet those people. And a lot of them are not any happier than the person bagging my groceries at Brookshire's, right? Why is that? It's because they define success in a different way than I'm asking you to define it today, right? I use what's called the 5, 10, and 15 rule. Say that you live in wherever, you could live here. You just built a 5,000 square foot house, right? You're pretty pumped. Congratulations, your neighbor just built a 10,000 square foot house. You just bought a Corvette. Congratulations, your neighbor just bought a Porsche. You just bought a Cirrus aircraft. Congratulations, your neighbor just bought a Citation jet. But it doesn't stop there because your neighbor's boss just bought a 15,000 square foot house. And he just bought a McLaren. And he just bought a Gulfstream jet. It never ends. You see that? You're aspiring to attain something that you can never attain. Even if you are number 2 on the Forbes list, there's still somebody that has more than you do. What a miserable life. Doesn't it sound empty? I think it's empty. And I'm not saying that you shouldn't achieve to attain those goals. What I'm saying is define your success in a different way, right? Say your success has no dollar amount associated with it. Say your success is simply to live debt or stress-free. Now, your whole world doesn't come to a screeching halt when you don't take that 6-figure job that you would have hated, right? Now your world looks like a much better place because you're content to stay with a 5-figure job that you love, that allows you to pay off your house, that allows you to pay off your cars, that allows you to send your kids to college, right? Because that's what you define success as. Or, even more than that, what if you defined your success as not by how much you could receive, but by how much you could give, right? Let me tell you the elixir of life. It is scientifically proven that consistently generous people live longer, healthier, and happier lives. What? You're telling me that I could live longer, I could live happier and healthier by giving consistently? Yes. And it's because giving consistently allows you to do 3 things. It allows you to manufacture joy, it allows you to be faith-filled, and it allows you to live guilt-free. Define success right now without a dollar amount. And I promise you'll be much happier in the long run, and you'll probably make more money than you would have had you defined success as a dollar value. Does that make sense? Okay, number 2. You ready for number 2? Ask for advice. Boring. As boring as defined success, right? Ask for advice. Ask for advice. Discern good from bad, right? That's key. Discerning good advice from bad advice. There are a lot of people out there that are willing to give you advice, right? But few people are actually willing to take their own advice, right? Have you ever given somebody advice and you're like, great piece of advice, but I'd never take that. Discern the good from the bad. Accept the good. Implement the good. And then share your results of how it worked out for you, right? And here's the best way to do it. And I'm going to give you this advice, right? But it's going to sound strange, just like every other piece of advice does, because it doesn't come with instructions. Get a mentor. Congratulations, it's like building a house, but I didn't give you a blueprint. Get a mentor. What does that mean? Have you heard that? Get a mentor? Anybody heard that before? Yeah, it's a tired piece of advice, right? It's empty. Get a mentor. Well, that didn't help me any. Next. Ariana Grande. Thank you. Next. I'm still kind of in your generation. Get a mentor. Instead of me just saying get a mentor, I thought it would be easier to tell you about how I got a mentor. And mentor relationships are never formal. You're not going to walk up to somebody and be like, hey man, how you doing? You're going to be my mentor. They'll be like, buzz off, kid. What are you talking about? I'm going to be your mentor. But there's no bigger compliment that you can give somebody than asking them to be your mentor. And the worst thing they can say is no, right? If you walk up to somebody and genuinely have interest in what they do and ask them for advice, right? There is a greater chance that that person will take you under their wing and you will emulate their success, right? How do you do that? You look for somebody that does what you want to do, or is somebody who is like the person you want to become. And you identify that person and you go up and ask them for advice, right? I have a guy back in Atlanta named Trevor Smith. And I have the craziest stories, y'all. I can tell you the craziest stories about how everything I moved from point A to D to G to S to T, but when I look back on my life, it all looks like a straight path. I didn't know why I went to ULM, right? But now I know I went there so I could graduate in 3 years. And so I wouldn't have any debt coming out, and so I could go to Ole Miss. I grew up as an LSU fan. Why would I go to Ole Miss? So I could go to Ole Miss so I could graduate there in 12 months, right? Now, I didn't know why I did that until I moved to Atlanta, and I didn't know why I moved to Atlanta. A lot of the times you'll do things that you don't know why you do it until you look back and you realize that God had a straight plan for you all along. So when I was at Ole Miss, I thought I wanted to be in commercial real estate. Everybody wanted to be in commercial real estate and move to Nashville in my class. Congratulations. First off, when everybody wants to do something, run the opposite direction. I'll just tell you that now. Identify the situation, but most of the time run the opposite direction. I called or emailed 10 people on a piece of advice from the people in my MBA program, the administration. They said, reach out to the people that have put their name on a list to be alumni advisors. They have put their contact information out there so that people like you will reach out to them and ask them for advice. Perfect. It's a gold mine. So I emailed 10 people, right? If you email 10 people, you'll probably get 3 or 4 responses back, which I did. And 1 or 2 of them might be a hot lead. If you're in sales, you kind of know those statistics. One of those replies or responses was from a guy named Trevor Smith. And Trevor Smith and I set up a phone call about commercial real estate. I said, hey Hamilton, how you doing? This is Trevor. I spent a long time in commercial real estate, 6 years. And we talked about it. And he all but talked me out of commercial real estate. Thankfully. But by the end of the phone call, he asked me, would you like to hear what I do now? And so I said, yeah, sure. And so we set up another phone call. And that phone call was about his sales gig that he sold commercial lighting, like this stuff, LED lighting. Sexy. Right? But just because I asked him for advice, he offered me a job, right? And I moved to Atlanta, and I took a position with a startup energy company selling commercial lighting. And it was one of the most miserable experiences of my entire life that I would not give anything for. Because it got me to a point where I was so down and in such a dark place in my career. I was making money. I was going and making relationships. I didn't really like what I was doing, but at the same time, it got me to start reading the Word. It got me to start praying and asking myself, which we'll touch on this with advice number 3, what is my purpose? What am I doing here? There's got to be something more, right? But after that year of not knowing what I was doing, I realized that I had a mentor, right? I didn't call Trevor and say, hey man, you want to be my mentor? I asked him for advice. And the reason why he even responded to my emails, guys, you know why? Because no one else had emailed him. Ever. He had been on that alumni board for years, and not a single student had emailed him at all, reached out, asking for advice at all. That blew him away. He put his contact information out there so that people would ask for advice, and nobody did. Go out there and be the person that asks for the advice that people are willing to give, right? Number 3, okay? Number 3. Identify your intentions. What does that mean? The bird's intentions are to throw my speech. Identify your intentions. Okay? Think about the end of your life. I know it sounds morbid. Think about the end of your life. And think about looking back on your life and thinking about what really mattered. Right? Is anybody going to be on their deathbed saying, I should have bought that Corvette? Yeah, maybe this guy. Maybe this guy. Anybody going to be on their deathbed saying they wish they would have spent more time at work? Maybe that guy. But I don't think that that's going to be many of us in this room. What is it? I don't know what it is, right? But I can at least give you some sort of applicable way for you to identify something like that, and that's what's called an on-purpose statement. That sounds so dry, y'all. That sounds like something I would get out of a business textbook. You need to write an on-purpose statement to try to figure out what your purpose is. Like, that's weak, man. But I'm up here telling you to do it, so maybe I'm weak. The on-purpose statement is something that I learned in a book called The On-Purpose Person by Kevin McCarthy. Hold with me, guys. It's not that much longer. The statement starts out like, I exist to serve by blank, blank. And I'll give you some examples. Mother Teresa. Anybody know who Mother Teresa is? Mother Teresa, she might have existed to serve by fostering humanity, right? Neil Armstrong, what did he exist to serve by? I think he existed to serve by taking steps, right? One small step for man, one giant leap for mankind. That will allow you to have a light switch, right? That you know if you're on purpose or off purpose. There's no in between. You're never going to do anything that's kind of on purpose. You're never going to do anything that's kind of off purpose. You're either going to be on purpose or off purpose, right? And it helps you to identify before you enter into a situation, is this going to help me get to my goal of living towards becoming the person that I want to become? Is this going to help me to get to that purpose of my life, that mission statement? I exist to serve by blank, blank. Mine is I exist to serve by lighting fires. I'm not an arsonist. I like to fire people up, right? That's my thing. This is on purpose for me, right? Thank you for letting me be on purpose today. Thank you for letting me be on purpose today, right? When I leave here, I can easily flip that switch on, and I'm off purpose. And I might have taken one step forward in this place, but I took 2 steps back right when I left. I could go get a DWI right now. I could. Tell me I couldn't. Would that be on purpose? Would anybody in this room that read the newspaper, judge's son gets DWI after giving advice to high school students? That's a headline in the Bastrop Daily Enterprise, isn't it? Yep. That's all purpose. But do you understand what I'm saying here? So when you ask yourself that question of what is my purpose statement? What do I exist to serve by? And I'm not saying that your statement is, I exist to do something, or I exist to, this is who I'm going to become. It's, I exist to serve by. Underline the word serve. I exist to serve by doing blank, blank. It's going to make you ask yourself a question, right? And that question is, what is my purpose? And I don't know what your purpose is, and I struggled with mine for a long time, and I don't know that I've even found it. I hope that I haven't found a purpose. I hope that purpose is plural, and I will find multiple purposes to fulfill throughout my life, right? But you'll ask yourself, what is my purpose? And it might take you into a dark place, and I'm not saying that it won't. I hope that it doesn't, and I hope you're able to rebound from that. Right? But if you don't even know where to start, because I hate giving advice and not having applicable steps to get there, ask yourself, okay, well, what do I do really well that I don't even think about doing? What are some compliments that you get? Is your artwork that you do really good? Do people compliment you on how good you draw? Right? Is the compliment that you get that you're the nicest person that anyone's ever met? Is your compliment that you do hair or makeup really well? Well, maybe you shouldn't go be an accountant. Maybe you should chase after hair and makeup. Maybe what you thought your path was doesn't align with what your purpose is, right? And if you don't know or you don't have the information to answer that question for yourself, ask the people that are closest to you, right? Ask your parents, ask your friends, hey, what do you think my spiritual gifts are? What am I really good at? It might sound cocky, just feel, hey, look, I'm trying to figure out my purpose here. What am I really good at? And I'll tell you what you're really good at. Because most people will identify your spiritual gifts before you do. They can see you from the outside. They can. I can't see me from the outside. The eye cannot see itself except for through a mirror. Right? Use that mirror of people that are closest to you to see yourself, identify your purpose, and live it out. There's one theory that I came up with. It's probably not original. Nothing's original. But there was one theory that when I was at that lowest point, I came up with that alleviated so much stress on me. And it is the underlying belief system behind why I go throughout my day. Do you want to hear it? The chances of everything happening is 1 of 1. I could tell you stories that you wouldn't believe. I was almost incarcerated in China for trying to visit without a visa. I've been stranded in Washington, D.C. at 13 years old, being left at the inauguration of President Barack Obama. I have days that I've missed flights and I should have gone somewhere and I would have been stranded in Thailand or Bali, but those extra days that I spent there, I met some incredible people that otherwise I wouldn't have met. I mean, just stories. I could tell you things for weeks. That in 24 years, I visited 24 countries. There are a lot of experiences there. I had amassed these odds that the occurrences in my life, right, were 1 trillion to 1. Why in the world would they have turned out that way? I can't carry that number, y'all. Can you carry 1 trillion to 1? Thinking that everything's a coincidence? Thinking that it's a coincidence that you're sitting here in these bleachers today? Thinking it's a coincidence that I just happen to be in town after Easter and that y'all haven't gone on summer break, or that y'all might not be on spring break this week? ULM's on spring break. I couldn't do this today at ULM. I could do it today here. You think it's a coincidence that Miss Morrison went and visited my dad at his office, that he would mention me, that I would be in town and that I would speak? It just keeps adding up to where it's just like, no, there's no way. The theory is that everything that happens is the only thing that could happen. If anything else could happen, it would have. It's kind of radical, right? If anything else could have happened, it would have. What does this mean? How does this alleviate stress off of you? It's not on you anymore, right? I was struggling so hard to find my purpose that I spent all of my time and energy finding it, that I wasn't living it, right? If you believe that this 1 in 1 theory actually exists, right? You don't have to go search for your purpose anymore. If you want to be a couch potato today, go be a couch potato. That's exactly what you were supposed to do today. I'm not advocating for that. What I'm saying is it doesn't move you one step closer to a better purpose. You're just living out your purpose to be a couch potato. It's up to you what you do with that day, right? So if you want to go out there and change the world today, go do it. That's exactly what you were meant to do, right? But instead of finding your purpose, become the person that your purpose is looking for, right? Instead of going out there and finding your wife or your husband, become the person that your husband or wife is looking for. Maybe it is, maybe it's not. Maybe you've heard that 4 times this morning. I don't know. For me, that was life-changing. I don't have to I can just go through life and look at somebody and be kind to them. I'm living out my purpose. I can go and start a business in an industry that I may or may not make any money in. But I'm happier doing that than I was selling light bulbs, right? You would worry a lot less about what other people think if you realized how little other people think about you. And that's sad to hear, right? Thankfully, you guys wear uniforms. We had to wear, I was wondering this morning, are they going to judge me for my V-neck? They're going to wear tennis shoes, you know? You don't need somebody to come in here wearing a sports coat to talk down to you. not any better than you. I'm 24, right? I can't even rent a car. Maybe I can. Maybe they changed the rules. I don't know. I'm not here to talk down to you. Actually, I'm here to talk up to you. I exist to serve by lighting fires, right? I'm talking up to people that have a great purpose, right? God has a huge purpose for all of your lives. So challenge him. Challenge him to show you what that purpose is, right? But then you have to do something on your own. You have to have the courage to step up to the plate. To hit that plate a couple times in your bat, on the left hand, by the way. Gotta help. And to knock it out of the park, right? 3 things, let's recap. Define success. Money is not required, right? Anybody remember the second one? Ask for advice. Third, anybody remember the third one? Identify your intentions. I can tell you a million things, but those 3, I think, will save you more time than anything else. And as we identified at the very beginning, there's nothing that I can save you that's more valuable than your time. Thanks for listening, guys. I really appreciate it. If you have time, I'll take questions, but if you don't have time, we can give it.
You can pick out some, go for it.
Anybody have any questions? My throat's sore, so I'm here tomorrow. What's up, man? What do I do? That's a good question. I do a couple of things. So, I do 2 main things, right? I have an aviation school that my business partner and I started in Atlanta. It's called Inspire Aviation. N-S-P-I-R-E. Like inspire, the word inspire without the I. And so what we do is the knowledge portion of pilot training. So if you woke up tomorrow and you're like, I want to fly an airplane. By the way, there's a massive pilot shortage. So if you ever thought about being a pilot, it's a good time. We do the first step of pilot training. We do the knowledge portion of it, and then we pass you along and prepare you for a flight school. Because it's a lot. The experience is, and I'm also a consultant, so I do some marketing and operations strategy consulting, which in itself was like a happenstance type thing. You can't go find this job. Another piece of advice. Your dream job is probably not on Indeed.com. You probably won't find it in Google, right? It probably doesn't even exist yet. And think about this. Fantastic question, because it led me into another point. Think about this. Don't be thinking about the job that you want today. I'm serious, guys. Don't be thinking about the job you want today. Think about the jobs that will be relevant by the time you retire. Because I can guarantee you the majority of jobs that are available today will not be available or even exist by the time you might get to retire. Think about that. Should scare you. That terrifies me, right? Think about how you're going to provide for your family, right? Because the job that you're preparing for now, you might be throwing all your darts at the wrong board. Don't do that. Do your research. Make yourself adaptable and give yourself the most options. The person with the most options has the most power. Right? Great question. Any other questions? Yeah, what's up, dude?
How much does it cost you to stay in Atlanta in this local neighborhood?
A lot less than you'd think. I promise. I pay about $900 a month. I'm telling you, man, there are some people I know that are paying $3,000 a month in rent to live in my neighborhood. Same apartment like me. I don't have to have the nicest stuff, man. The place I live is 100% livable, right? It's a lot nicer than 99% of the rest of the world. But just like we talked about earlier, right? I'm not comparing with that guy that has, the 22nd floor of the Hanover that has the skyline view. I can pay $10 to go to the top of Pond City Market and get a skyline view, right? How many times can I go to Pond City Market and look at the skyline for the amount that he's paying in rent to get that in his balcony that he uses twice a year because he's at work all the time, right? You got to think about that kind of stuff, but yeah, it's a lot less than you probably think. Yeah. Come to Atlanta. Actually, all my friends that ask me if I like Atlanta, I tell them how great Dallas is because I don't want them to ruin Atlanta. It's like, hey, look, Dallas is great.